President Trump visited Kenosha, Wisconsin Tuesday following days of protests over the police shooting of Jacob Blake Jr. The president toured businesses damaged during last week's demonstrations. He also thanked law enforcement for their response to the unrest and went on to blame Democratic leaders for the violence that has unfolded. The president's trip came despite objections from local officials. They said the city needed time to heal after more than a week of protests. Jacob Blake was shot in the back 7 times by an officer on August 23rd. Mola Lengi is on the ground in Kenosha, but we start off with Paula Reid. She's also in the city traveling with the president.
President Trump arrived in the embattled part of this city under heavy security. Accompanied by Attorney General Bill Barr and Homeland Security Chief Chad Wolf, they toured burned businesses and thanked local law enforcement leaders who helped quell the unrest.
You have done a fantastic job.
But Mr. Trump made no mention of the police shooting of Jacob Blake that prompted much of the violence, and he did not meet with the Blake family during today's visit. The president is under fire tonight for comparing excessive force by police to choking on the golf course.
But they choke, just like in a golf tournament. They miss a 3-foot putt.
Mr. Trump has consistently tried to tie Joe Biden to the violence in U.S. cities.
Kenosha has been ravaged by anti-police and anti-American riots.
Last night, he touted a strange and baseless claim that Biden was being controlled by the people in the streets.
People that you've never heard of, people that are in the dark shadows, people that...
What does that mean? That sounds like conspiracy theory, dark shadows.
No,
what is that?
People that you haven't heard of. They're people that are on the streets. They're people that are controlling the streets.
Biden, who is expected to announce a record campaign fundraising haul of over $300 million in the month of August, has accused the president of inciting violence rather than working to stop it.
Fires are burning and we have a president who fans the flames rather than fighting the flames. But we must not burn. We have to build.
Meanwhile, a new book on the president is raising questions about his health. It claims that Vice President Pence was told to stand by in case Mr. Trump was incapacitated during an unscheduled visit to Walter Reed Hospital last November. The president tweeted today that the idea that he suffered a series of mini strokes was fake news. But the author never mentions mini strokes in the book. The controversy forced the president's personal physician to release a statement saying he has not been evaluated for a stroke and remains healthy.
Donald Trump, 4 more years!
I'm Mola Lengi, also in Kenosha, where tonight some local Trump supporters hope the president's visit will help the town heal.
A lot of people lost a lot of things. We just need to stop being divided by our differences.
We support God, we support Trump, and we're praying for our country.
While police and National Guard members monitored what were at times heated but mostly peaceful protests in Kenosha, today President Trump also addressed unrest in Portland, where overnight protesters clashed with police. The president saying this about Aaron Danielson, the victim of Saturday night's fatal shooting.
He was targeted. They targeted him. They shot him in the street, and then they were so happy, and he died.
During the president's visit to Kenosha,
We need a president that's going to unite our country and take us in a different direction.
That's right.
a counter rally with Jacob Blake's family offered resources often lacking in the African American community, like voter registration and COVID-19 testing. Justin Blake is Jacob's uncle.
How's Jacob doing?
Man, he's hanging in there, bro. His disposition and his just outgoingness is starting to return a little bit.
Personality?
Yeah, his personality is starting to light up the hospital. Everybody's seeing who little Jake really is.
Jesse Franklin lives in the neighborhood where Blake was shot. He says before last Sunday, he never protested a day in his life. Now, his grassroots group, Black Lives Activists of Kenosha, is leading a local movement.
What woke me up was that it happened right across the street from my home. I have kids. That man kids was in that car. That could have been me, and that's why it touched me. That's why I felt the need to step up and have a voice.
Well, a few hours after President Trump has left Kenosha, and there are still demonstrators out here in front of the courthouse. Meanwhile, the Wisconsin Department of Justice continues to investigate the Jacob Blake shooting. We have learned that they have reviewed 28 videos relating to the shooting, including 2 that have gone viral online. You'll remember that police officers here in Kenosha do not wear body cams. Elaine.
Mola Lengi, thank you. Let's turn now to Paula Reid. She's traveling with the president in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Hi there, Paula. As we saw in 2016, Wisconsin is a battleground state. Was that political importance a factor in the president's decision to visit?
Absolutely. Following the RNC last week, Elaine, the president has hit the ground running. He's been back on the campaign trail. And like you said, Wisconsin is a hotly contested state. It was a battleground state in 2016. He won this county by just 255 votes. He's hoping to obviously win it by more votes, but at least just win the state again in a few months. His Democratic rival, Joe Biden, is also possibly going to visit Kenosha over the next couple days. He said yesterday that it's something he's looking into, and he may do as well.
Well, President Trump did not meet with Jacob Blake's family Tuesday. What do we know about that decision? And are there any plans for him to meet them in the future?
It's interesting, Elaine. The White House has kind of dodged this question, suggesting that they had reached out to a family pastor or a family minister and that they just hadn't gotten a response. But the president here during his trip today, he did not meet with any member of the Blake family. And some of the Blake family, they had a different event, a different protest on another side of town. And some members of that family suggested that they have no interest in meeting with President Trump. Of course, Jacob Blake remains in the hospital, and he is right now paralyzed as a result of that police shooting.
Well, the president on Tuesday called the violence in Kenosha acts of, quote, domestic terror. But as you mentioned in your piece, he did not address the police shooting of Jacob Blake that led to the unrest. What's the president's strategy here, and what's been the reaction from people there in Kenosha?
One of the key themes of his re-election campaign is law and order. He is trying to divert attention from coronavirus. We know, looking at the polls, that overwhelmingly voters do not think his administration has handled coronavirus well. He's looking for a diversion, and he has found one in this law and order theme. He uses cities like Kenosha trying to draw attention to destruction like that which you see behind me, suggesting that this is all rioting and unrest driven by a liberal ideology. But earlier today, when he was with law enforcement, he refused to engage in the larger issue of systemic racism in policing. We know that's really the issue at the heart of a lot of this unrest, but instead he is trying to spin this as is just violence and chaos in Democratic-led cities, suggesting that if Joe Biden is elected president, that this will happen in towns and communities across the country, when of course this is happening, Elaine, during a Trump administration.
Right. All right. Paula Reid reporting from Kenosha for us. Paula, thank you very much.